I have to appreciate the fact that we are as many as we are at this hour. But I think it will be testing your patience to take it beyond this. Yeah? And we do want you to come to many other events that we are going to have. So allow me to work towards one last final item. Final closure is always difficult because then you are going to part with friends. But we are going to key in Professor Kaya and there won't be questions, unfortunately, afterwards. He will simply take us through his thought process on Quavadi's NaLHISA. Yeah? And we'll take those to go work with them as NaLHISA, as much as we're going to take everything that you've said into account as we build a better organization. So I don't know if we are ready, those that to key in Professor Kaya from the University of, is it KZN, Eddie?
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, Your Excellency, Me Bale Kambete, the former Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Mheshimiwa Mzee Joseph Butiku, Chair of the Board of Directors, Mwalimu Nyerere Foundation, Your Excellency, Ambassador Bulelo Kwena, Eddie Maloka, colleague of mine for many years, since the 90s, been working together. And thank you for inviting me to be here. Protocols observed. I'm very sensitive about the issue of time. We had a lot sharing here. I had to struggle here, and I thought the thing was over. But I wanted to share with you a number of my thoughts, and I'll be as fast as possible, try to summarize certain issues so that at least you understand what I wanted to share with you. I am going to have some introductory remarks, and then I look at the question of the challenges of understanding the national liberation as a heritage, national heritage, and also the challenges, because the topic I've been given to talk about is the issue of the sustainability of NaLHISA. And when we started this morning, Eddie talks the issue of, first of all, I need to introduce myself. I didn't do that. My name is Hassan Kaya. I am the director of the DSI, stands for Department of Science and Innovation, National Research Foundation Center of Excellence in Indigenous Knowledge Systems. And I'm also coordinating a continental consortium, which Eddie is also part of it. It's the African Institute in Indigenous Knowledge Systems. It's a consortium of more than 20 higher education and autonomous research institutions from within and outside the continent. Our work is to preserve, promote, and protect African indigenous knowledge systems. Now, coming to the presentation, because I'm sensitive that we've been here the whole day, and I don't want to keep you here all the time. The first thing will be introductory remarks, and I'm going out to share with you the challenges of understanding the national liberation movements as a national heritage, and also the challenges of NaLHISA for sustainability and the value proposition of NaLHISA as a national asset for the national liberation struggle. A lot has already been done, written by a number of scholars. If you go to terms of research, when I was at Northwest University, people like Andy Manson, Bernard Mbenga have done a lot of work at Northwest Province there to look at the new national liberation routes. If you look at also number of literature has been done in terms of international, and also people like Emmanuel Wallerstein have also written about the past and the future of the national liberation struggle in South Africa, especially from an international or from a global system. But another important aspect is to take into consideration is the fact that heritage involves issues of identity. It involves issues of shared history, which needed to be shared also with the future generations, as Imam Kembete pointed out, that is not just for those who are here, but even for those who are coming in the future. So the question of identity is a question of shared history, and also the issue of sustainability, creating sustainable environment in which we can pass over the achievements and the challenges of the national liberation struggle to those who are coming in the future, and they can also continue to pass those things to their future generation. So my presentation is a combination of my personal experience. I'm originally from Tanzania, and I'm not as old as Mheshimiwa Mzee Butiku, but I have also. So my presentation is a combination of uh, my own experience as a Tanzanian. I was born in the early 50s. I grew up in the 60s. I was a student at the University of Dar es Salaam in the early 70s when it was the Dar es Salaam, when you had the Dar es Salaam school, it was the kind of a beehive of all the national liberation movements in the continent. So I had an experience with a number of colleagues intellectually from South Africa and other parts of the continent. Uh, some of them also worked with me. And then also in 1977, 78, when people were coming away from South Africa, I used to stay with a certain colleague of mine, Patrick Nkube, those who know him, and myself and him were part of the people who also helped, assisted those who came out of South Africa. So it's a personal experience of the liberation struggle in the sense that I am not talking just from an academic work, but I'm also talking from my active participation in the time when I was also a student, and also I was working with the University of Dar es Salaam before I left for Germany. Also, when I was in Germany, in Leipzig, I had a number of colleagues from South Africa who were together there. People like Jeff Adebe and others who were students together. When I was at Karlshorst in East Berlin, he was also in Leipzig. So at the same time, as I pointed out, when I was at Northwestern University, a number of colleagues did a lot of historical work on the liberation routes in the Northwest province. And last week, I had a brief interaction with the chairperson of the event, and I took the initiative to talk to a number of colleagues. We are running a project here in Northwest, in KwaZulu-Natal at Eshowe, in which we are trying to bring social cohesion among different races, different religious groups. And I took the opportunity after talking to His Excellency Ambassador to ask a number of people across races, religious groups who were working together at Eshowe, how they think about the institute, NaLHISA, and the whole liberation struggle and its sustainability. And I'm going to share with you a number of the challenges they pointed out about the national liberation struggle, and one of them, the fact that the national liberation struggle has tended to be portrayed as a one-person uh, struggle with limited knowledge about the other individuals and movements which has led or contributed to the national liberation struggle. And these are some of the aspects which might challenge NaLHISA in sustainability. Another important aspect in which colleagues pointed out during interaction with them, the national liberation struggle was a painful and humiliating experience, such that some parents are hesitant to share these personal experiences with their young uh, people. So these are issues, also challenges which NaLHISA need to take into consideration. And also, as one of the colleagues pointed out this morning, the role of the ordinary people in the struggle is not articulated or tends to be marginalized. And some of the people have that idea that it tends not to be appreciated and recognized. So this is also one challenge of the understanding the national liberation struggle. And also, liberation was done by one group only in terms of race, ethnicity. That is a picture some people have, that the national liberation struggle tends to be portrayed as if it was a function or an action of a group of people, ethnic group, whatever. The same thing we had. I mean, when I was a student in University of Dar es Salaam, we used to have Professor Claude Aki. He used to talk about personification of history. We tend to portray that there are certain people within our societies, within the history of societies, who had some qualities which also are attributed to the whole liberation of the what of the country or whatever. Why we need to go out of this personification of history so that those who come after can see as part and parcel or identify the whole thing as part of the national struggle. And also, the apartheid oppression was so institutionalized, according to other people, to the extent that the beliefs of ordinary people, such that what the dominant race here in South Africa, the whites, the minority, what they believed, other people were accepted by as if it was a normal truth. Yeah. So if they criminalized the national liberation struggle, other people also were influenced by the fact that. So in terms of young people who are supposed to sustain this struggle, it becomes a bit of a challenge. And also the differences in racial, ethnic, linguistic, and religious beliefs among the ordinary people were manipulated by the apartheid system such that the unity and solidarity, in other words, unity in a diversity was looked as a problem. And that's why here in KwaZulu-Natal, we have a project with the municipality trying to look at the triple heritage. That South Africa is, and taking the example of KwaZulu-Natal, is a place where representatives of people from different regions of the globe live together. And each of them, in our cases, indigenous knowledge, each cultural group, each racial group has some knowledge to share and experiences, which diversity in unity can also contribute to the question of identity, the question of looking at the national liberation struggle as something which Mama Mema Balekembet says belongs to everybody, regardless of your political affiliation or your party affiliation. It's something which we need to identify with. So that is the challenge of liberation struggle, understanding it. When you come to the challenges of NaLHISA, you find that there's limited knowledge among the people I talk to and the awareness about what the Institute is all about, especially among ordinary people. That's why some of the colleagues this morning pointed out we need, for the sustainability of NaLHISA, to ensure that ordinary people across races, across regions in the country, even outside the country, understand what NaLHISA is all about, what it wants to achieve, so that they can embrace it and be part of the whole stuff. So people also look at NaLHISA as discipline specific, relevant to historians, politicians. Instead, we must also work in such a way it becomes a multi-transdisciplinary institution. So it belongs to, just as we are doing here with our African indigenous knowledge system, we're trying to be as holistic, as multidisciplinary as possible. So NaLHISA should not just be a oriented toward historians. It should embrace all aspects of society, all disciplines, and all formations of society. And also sustainability will depend on accessibility and membership across generations to include those who were not part of the struggle. Because it's a national heritage, it should be involve even those who were not part of the national struggle. And NaLHISA should strive to ensure that that is achieved. And most of the young people who are parents now were born in the 80s and the time when history already was distorted by the apartheid system. So what they know is what they learned in school, which was distorted. So there must be an effort to rewrite history, to kind of change the curriculum, the way in which apartheid system distorted. Some of the colleagues were talking, even Mheshimiwa Mzee Butiku was saying that there's this notion that when the Nguni were moving this way, the Boers were also moving. So they were almost going like in an empty place, which Africans were not there, but were part of the continent. Yeah. even if I was what is now Tanzania. These things came after the Berlin Conference, 1884, 85. But we lived in the same continent. So someone from somewhere comes and says the place was empty. We need also to work on that type of history. So also the practice of naming some of the colonial places tends to be superficial and a bit academic because it does not sufficiently impact the relevance of the person whom we are putting the name there to the young people because they don't understand the history of that icon. So this is also a challenge to NaLHISA in which we need to work in such a way that the young people understand when we say we name this place after this one, what does it mean to the young people? What impact does it have for sustainability of NaLHISA? And information liberation is documented and managed in archives. What we are doing here at our institute is trying to bring paradigm shift. An archive, a museum, as someone was pointing this morning, need to have a new paradigm. A museum and an archive should not be don't touch. It must be a place dialogue, a place of exchanging ideas across generations, across races, instead of just documenting. At one time, I used to coordinate the NEPAD IKAs in the Southern African region. I had a colleague of mine, Agrambali from Malawi. He used to tell us, we are documenting for what? Yeah? And that's bringing also the question of paradigm shifting. The whole morning we've been talking about digitizing. Well, at our institute here, we're talking digitalization as a process because you can preserve, you can scan a document, put it there for preservation, but people outside don't know access. So what we should do, or what we are doing here, which you can learn from one another, is to try to create the digital platforms, including artistic ways in which we can share the knowledge of national liberation to across races at different levels. So we need to have to move from digitizing to digitalization as a process. You can check that in the dictionary, whatever. And that's what we are doing here. We should just not just limit to digitizing. We should go to the process as a process, creating different platforms for different levels of education and society in which the national liberation struggle as a national heritage can be accessed. Now, let us come there. What is the value proposition of NaLHISA? Is an asset, a national asset, which will try as much as possible to continue with the sustainability of ensuring that the national liberation struggle becomes part and parcel of national heritage for everybody. One is the fact that we should all acknowledge, as Mzee Butiku was pointing this morning or this afternoon, that the fruits of the national liberation struggle can be seen positively in all the spheres of life in South Africa here. So NaLHISA should be in that as an asset because it creates a positive and relevant environment for the NaLHISA to get a buy-in in the different parts of sections of society across races. And also at a national level, NaLHISA provides a conducive platform for ordinary people as individuals, as communities of practice, traditional leaders, healers, farmers, tax owners, etc., to share their historical experience, the journey during the national liberation struggle, as a shared national heritage, where the young people, so-called intergenerational dialogue. We are working with the Africa Forum here, and we are still working to ensure that the former heads of state, the former people who were retired, whatever, there is a kind of intergenerational dialogue about the history of the country, the history of the continent. And this is part and parcel of intergenerational dialogue. And NaLHISA can work with institutions like ours to ensure that this goes across all levels of society, across generations, across races, across religious background. And also the international level. NaLHISA creates a platform for Africans who remained in the country and those who went outside the country to share experiences about the struggle within and outside the country, including the contribution of the international community to the national liberation struggle in South Africa. And it makes the national liberation struggle not just a national asset, but also an international asset, because so many people across the globe contributed to the national liberation struggle here. So that is also another asset, not a challenge for only for NaLHISA. And these lived experiences can be packaged, not necessarily digitized, but digitalized in different formats, format, including artistic forms. We're doing here, we're recruiting young people as artists to articulate and promote the national liberation struggle and other African indigenous knowledge systems. And that is also important, the question of indigenous languages. Indigenous language, the way we are propagating here is a paradigm shift, are not just mere tools of communication, but they are repositories of African indigenous science, technology, innovations, social, political, and social thought. So NaLHISA also should work with the other institutions across disciplines, across races, across all formations of society to ensure that African indigenous knowledge systems, the experiences of the national liberation struggle within and outside the country are digitalized, not just digitized, to ensure that they percolate or they're embraced, they're shared, they're owned by all sections of society. The digitally packaged content, material, and platform should be designed and developed for different educational levels and sectors to enhance the cognitive impact, because the whole aim is to ensure that there is social and epistemic justice in the national liberation struggle. And finally, the concept of heritage should be taken as an identity, it needs to be interrogated within and multiracial and multi-generational settings of South Africa, because it might only be exclusive to a particular group, ethnic group, particular political party. Hence, if one does not identify with that party or with that ethnic group, whatever, he is not considered herself as part of the nation heritage. I think I should stop here. Thank you. Hello?
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Prof. Did you want to say something further?
No, I'm just sensitive that people have been there for too long. So they shouldn't get it.
No,
But the most important thing is we need to work together so that to create a paradigm shift, because the whole morning is just digitizing for what? We need to digitalize the national liberation struggle. We can digitize,
Okay,
put
no,
in an
thank
archive.
you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor, and another round of applause, please. Yeah? Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and all protocol observed, may I now, without further ado, retire my paddling legs that have been like a duck. You know how a duck acts. It appears calm on the outside, but actually it is rough out there. So it's always a pleasure to come to this part of the program, because then your legs can retire and you can reconcile your outside calmness with the paddling legs. Thank you very much. So I invite Nobuhle to retire us for the day. Thank you, Nobuhle.
What a day. Program Director, our host, Professor Landsberg, Her Excellency and Chairperson of NaLHISA, Mambale Ambete, trustees, representatives of liberation movements, esteemed guests here and online, all protocols observed. Good afternoon and thank you for being here today. And on behalf of NaLHISA, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for your presence and support today. First and foremost, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of our NaLHISA team of volunteers who have made this symposium possible today. Their tireless efforts, blood and sweat, creativity and commitment have truly made a difference to bring us all here together. Very special thank you to the University of Johannesburg for hosting the symposium. We are appreciative of your collaboration. I would also like to extend our appreciation to our esteemed guest, Mzi Putiki, speakers, moderators, for all your wisdom and taking out your time from your busy schedules to be with us. Your insights have enriched our understanding, have inspired us to forge forward and do better. We cannot rest, we cannot tire. Asante sana. This gathering provides us with a valuable opportunity to reflect on the accomplishments and milestones for NaLHISA. NaLHISA has come a long way, and this is an opportunity to look into the future. The success of NaLHISA will be a collaborative effort. I think Mzee Potiko said, it's not about me, it's about we. So it will be a collaborative effort. Your unwavering support, both as individuals and us as an African community, will be instrumental in NaLHISA's vision, which simply states, the National Liberation Heritage Institute tells the authentic and proud story of our liberation to impact the thinking of future generations. Together, we must create an environment where we ensure that our liberation is not forgotten, where ideas thrive, where innovation flourishes, where individuals are empowered to tell their authentic story for generations to come. It is in the spirit of collaboration, shared vision, and commitment that sets us apart and makes us a force to be reckoned with. As we look into the future, taking into account critical reflection shared today, connecting the past to the future, let us continue to build on the foundation that we have laid, striving for excellence in all that we do. Let us embrace our values as an opportunity for growth, and let us continue to work together towards a brighter and more prosperous future, a future we all want to see. Once again, I would like to express, on behalf of NaLHISA, my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you. Your presence here is a testament to the importance of the work that NaLHISA is doing and the impact it has in our lives today and tomorrow. Thank you for your unwavering support on behalf and on believing in our vision and for being an integral part of this journey. Today, we ask that you continue to stand beside us as NaLHISA as we forge ahead in this mammoth task. Thank you, and may we continue to inspire and be inspired. Let us preserve memory into the future, as said by Brahmos. And thank you, Hambani Gahle, and till next time. Thank you.
The University of Johannesburg, the future reimagined.